How has this evolution been? What do you think? You've been working with artists.
In music, you do riyaz every day. And if you don't do riyaz, you don't reach anywhere. You may be like a prodigy, but you have to do your riyaz.
Okay, this is not art only, but like I said, I've been there's my every part of my body and soul is about womanhood. Um, Not only me as an artist, but also what I do at Arts to Us Project. It is hyper focused. I don't think there's any other way I know.
Okay, so I just want to say that I appreciate women, and I think you're right, they can multitask. But I would not want to separate myself like that. In fact, if I look at my trajectory of artists.
Hey, you guys, welcome back to the Arts to Hearts podcast. I am very excited because I have another wonderful guest on the podcast today with me, another woman from the arts, and we have Reena Lath from the Akar Prakar Gallery from India. And I welcome you to the podcast, Reena.
Thank you, Charuka. It's a pleasure to be on this podcast. It's exciting to know that you're doing something for women and you're doing something for artists. It's Art has been something that I have loved for many, many years, and I'm glad that I run a gallery today. And we have galleries in Delhi and in Kolkata. I didn't come from an art background.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, I did my hotel management.
That's what this podcast is about.
So I did my hotel management, and then yes, I got into the arts. My husband's family, my husband's family they were art collectors and propagators of art education as well as theater, music. So, it was just it happened very, very easily, and I before I knew it, I was very much involved in the arts in terms of buying, in terms of looking, in terms of seeing, in terms of learning. So, yeah, that's my background.
But tell me something. Before this encounter, did you ever, before that, considered yourself? I think I asked this question to all gallerists or anybody who is not an artist but in other roles, because I think instinctively when you feel you're creative or have an aesthetic urge, or it's or maybe it's natural to me because I come from the creator side, to think like you could make something, you could be an artist yourself. Or did you not had any interest before that? What was your introduction before, in the early years or when you were growing up? Were you the girl, like, in India, girls are creative, boys are athletic, that way?
Um, no, the creative edge was there because I loved cooking at the time and I wanted to be a chef. So I think food and art is very much related.
Oh God, I relate to that for sure.
Flavors, presentation, colors, uh, the ambience, the all of it is very, very, yeah, everything.
Yeah, even my work right now, I play with a lot of embroideries. And in India, like, we make food, and even though I don't think we typically at home make food, like, add spices on top like that, but that's also how advertisements work. And we sell food. So a lot of time when I'm playing with embroideries and I'm making a painting, and I top off, embroideries like that, and I feel like, oh my God, I'm living another dream of being a cook and an artist both. So I do relate to that. So, how was your first encounter?
So my first encounter with art really was a piece of sculpture by Meera Mukherjee, which I had seen at a friend's house where we had a kind of a dinner meet, and there's this very mangled pieces of iron sitting on the table. Uh, there was a lot happening to it. I didn't understand it, to be honest. I looked at it and I was there for almost 2 hours for that meeting. And the piece was there. The people were talking things I didn't understand in that particular day. because they were talking about aesthetics and they were talking about philosophy, and I was very young. I think I was 19 at the time, and yes, and I saw this, but interestingly, I think this was a great way to start because by those 2 hours, I had nothing to do except look at that piece of sculpture right in front of me, which I probably would have never given myself that freedom of time. And so that was my introduction to art. I saw that work, and the more I looked at it, the more it made sense, the more it kind of spoke to me. And it was later that I decided that I'm going to do something for Meera Mukherjee because that was really my first foray into modern Indian art and contemporary art, yes. And then we did do books for her, and we took her exhibition to the Munich to the Steinbergersee Bookheim Museum. She had studied in Munich in the academy there, and so we managed to take a big exhibition of hers there, which of course was a landmark exhibition. So yeah, that was my first foray into knowing about art and like just learning it. Yeah.
But tell me something very honestly. A lot of times I like to take um, my friends who do not come from the art world at all, but are from the business world, because I think I overlap between these two the most. And a lot of time there, when people go for the first times, I'm not talking about modern art yet, because that's a very different concept. It takes a lot more understanding for someone to approach that even, but just the contemporary art space, and I see a lot of reactions. I think people feel intimidated. People feel their opinions should be worthy. They need to have something maybe intellectually right, more deep, psychologically strong, things like that to say. Or often there's another group who's like, oh, what's in this. Sometimes people raise eyebrows for pricing, like when, if we see as a third party, there are a lot of different reactions that happen. um, when you were entering, you know what was your first, did you feel intimidated in that sense, that because not coming from that kind of a background, we often feel like, and I think that is the most pure form of looking at art, honestly. But we don't know at that point that actually that is what is it, but we are often intimidated by that idea.
No, I don't think I faced any intimidation. No, but because I think uh, we were already, so the family was already buying art, and they were already very accepted into galleries and into museum spaces. So I remember going to various exhibition openings, and so I was always a buyer at the time when I did go, and it was very easy for me to say, yeah, I like this, let's buy it, and it was not intimidating at all. But so I don't think I came from that position. Yes, yes, but I must say that my really my mentor was my ex-husband's father, Dr. Mukund Lath, who was a scholar of music, and he was a collector, and he had actually started to collect art from the early 1970s and late 1960s when he had started buying some of the finest pieces that we have in the collection. So I remember, in fact, when I started my gallery, just skipping some years forward, when I started the gallery and I went to Akbar and I said, I would like to have some works of yours for my exhibition. It was a group show, and first he said, no, I'm not so sure. But then I said, no, but I'm Dr. Lath's family. And he was like, oh, yeah, of course. No, 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 no. You take whatever you want. You can pay me when you like. And so that's the kind of responses I had, in fact, uh, from artists, from the artist community, and from galleries whom I introduced myself to, and they were very warm. And I think I was already part of the art community without really realizing it. Yeah.
But tell me something, how you've been here for 20 years. 20 years is a good time. And specifically in the art world, how rapidly evolving and changing with the digital age it has been. I'm sure you've seen a huge varied, variety of things happening, experiences. First, can you share your gallery's perspective on what it feels to run a gallery at that point and now, the goods and the bads?
Okay. So, like I said, I didn't come from an art training, so to speak. Yes. And it was more, I think, love and passion which drove us to be kind of setting up the space. So we initially felt, Abhijit and I together when we started the gallery, that let's show the collection because we actually only knew how to buy art. We didn't know how to sell it. So we said, okay, let's show the collection and that will kind of help us to break into this gallery space which we had made in Calcutta. We had actually had started in Jaipur earlier, but that was again showing the collection which we would kind of curate because we had documented all of the family collection. Then, when we started in 2004 in Calcutta, uh, we began with excellent exhibition of Lakshma Gaur, whose collections we had in the family. And that at that time, I called Lakshma and I told him that, listen, I'm doing this exhibition and we have that entire selection of works which most people didn't have because we had bought, the family had it from the 1970s and then we had been buying from various auctions already. Besides what we had been buying from different auctions, especially we had bought from the Heart auction that Devil Tully had done. So we had a collection from there, and then we had bought some other works. So by the time 2004 happened, the auction market had already kind of established itself with Oceans as the first auction house. And so and I called him and he said, yeah, sure, great, we are doing it. I said, would you like to add one or two works? Because we have this whole, it's almost like a retrospective of your work. And he said, yeah, I'll send it to you. If you want to sell it, you can sell it. So it was like a, wow, you are okay, I get to sell the work. So that was really my first experience of selling an artwork from the exhibition. So, yeah, it was quite an eye opener that you made a commission on sales because we only bought till then. So it was like, oh, you make some money. Yeah, it's like, oh, you can make some money. Yes, yes. So it was a interesting kind of idea that we opened ourselves to. Oh, besides showing the collection, we can also uh, sell, yeah, sell works. Yeah. So that's how the gallery really picked up. And before I knew it, yeah, the art world.
How do you think this selling has changed as a gallerist from then to now? Has it become more complicated, more approachable, opened up? It does not feel anyway different than, has it not added in ways?
Selling is the same for centuries.
Yes, the mediums might have changed.
Mediums might have changed, but what has changed, I think, in India is when we started off way back in 2000, around 97, we set up the Jaipur gallery where we were really not selling, we were just putting up works and we were not even trying to sell. In 2004, when I started and we did Anang, the show of Lakshma, we realized, and of course, we were in the auction circuit, so to speak, because we were buying works from the auctions uh, uh, and from galleries, of course. So, what we realized was there are really a handful of collectors. And in those days, I remember, yeah, we could count them on our hands, 50 collectors. And I remember also many discussions on how do you increase that number for because if you're looking at an infrastructure for the arts, that buyer base must increase, bigger base. And I remember then many discussions with other auction houses or gallerists or even buyers who said, oh, you can't just count 50 buyers, you have to have 500 buyers. But by the time I reached 2006, the art market had just boomed. It was booming. And I think the market then did go up to about 500 buyers. And a lot of NRIs came on board at that time. A lot of new people came on board. But 2008, with the Lehman Brothers, the whole bust happened, and the market, yeah, market collapsed for art, and it was a very difficult time. But I think what I want to say is, and if your question is how does it change, it's always changing, but uh, buying and selling never changes. That remains the same. Was my what I want to tell you. Still remains the same. But the number of buyers, the kind of buyers, the market, that's going to constantly evolve, and that it has. I think for the better. Yeah.
Very interesting. And how has digital, as a gallerist approaching new young buyers, a lot of reports have come out where young buyers are taking a lot of interest in the arts, investing in the art, specifically people who come from money. They're seeing art as a worth of investment. But there's also another whole section of who thinks contrary, like always. How do you think has that the digital buying media, the younger generation, their buying patterns, how they respond to art, is that any different from what you've experienced in the past?
What I would say is it's it's interesting that more younger people are buying art as opposed to 5 years ago. 5 years ago, my buyers, because we have a portfolio of 50% modern masters and 50% contemporary artists. Yeah. So, because our it's pretty much equal, we are not only a contemporary space for showcasing art. Yeah. So we show contemporary, modern, and contemporary art. So we had very serious collectors who would come to buy from us. So I'm not going to talk about the boom because that was a bubble which burst. Yeah, so that forget about that. When we look at the serious way of buying and selling in the market and the response to the of the youth to the to art, in the last 5 years, I find that there are younger people who have deep pockets, who are also, I would say, since your buyer base or your subscription base is more in the US, I must compliment the whole Western way of looking at art, which has kind of promoted this in the youth, especially. No, I don't. Well, yes, and also what I want to add is that their education in the West has added to this whole way of looking at art, not only as an investment, but art as something that you must own to show your, no, to show your, to show that you have really arrived in this world of money and, yes, because, how many BMWs can you buy? How many Teslas would you get? How many homes? You need art. You must have art. If you want to show that you are cultured and you're not just some random person who's made a lot of money, but you've got the sense of aesthetics. Oh, yes, okay, the story you build, but it's really about, you know, if you're young, you're making money. you you've made these companies or these startups and you've really gone out there and made your billions, but how do you show that you have learned some culture along the way and you're not a young urban one of the yuppies and the puppies? You are beyond that, and the best way is through art, and that I feel I must say that the Western training has been very important, because in the West you find that colleges of art do encourage their students to go visit the museums and to be or the often the university has a museum inside, like the Berkeley College has a museum inside. Massachusetts, yeah, has a museum inside. So that I feel is one thing I must specify that the younger collectors are often NRIs and they have or they are back in India, but they've studied elsewhere. They've learned that art is has to be an important part. Having said that, the Indian students too, or the Indian entrepreneurs, the younger ones, are smart and they are doing the same, by just talking and learning. So that is also happening.
You know, I've said this a lot of time on the podcast, and I've, in my own experience working deeply, very globally, India and beyond, US and beyond. I've seen this stark difference where I feel like in India, um, it's become a little bit of more democratic, but it's still on the top of the funnel, a few steps down, but not still penetrated down to the bottom. Versus when I saw this specifically in the West, India is a craft rich country. We go bottom, top to bottom, and um, goes both ways. You know, people understand, appreciate, and value that because it's very deeply ingrained in their culture. But when it comes to, let's say, also it's very utilitarian. We look at investments in the sense of, we I think the Indian way is very, very different versus what I see as a different way of collecting in the US is it starts very young. It's very deeply, it goes from bottom to up. Um, the collection also starts with a few young students, or young, whenever, whatever age group they are in, start buying posters, and then it's like an edition, and then it's their first original, then it's a smaller piece, then it's a bigger piece. And it's been something that, it's it's a part of their life. It's not something that, if I have money and if I want to stabilize that, show that, etc., etc., it is, I will have to buy it. Instead, it is like, art is a form of expression, aesthetic, beauty, whatever. There's so many different reasons one can buy art for, and it starts at such a low price and such an entry level up way, and then it climbs up. And I've seen that with my own journey. I've seen where people have, like, um, just bought a very little piece and then came back and then came back and then came back to only build up on it. And I see when people collect also, I see there's a little difference on how this behavior, and I feel like it's contributed a lot in the, specifically in the contemporary, because a lot of independent artists, I think, are able to leverage that kind of behavior for sure.
Okay, so I'm going to just add a little something here. If I look back into the history of art, making and selling and buying, so I'd go back to the 19th century Battala prints. And, in Calcutta and around the areas, these Battala studios, the Calcutta Art Studio, and many such were mushrooming at the time because the printing press was had come in, yeah, and they were using it for propagation for advertising and also for and those. So going back to that, I mean, there was a lot of art selling even at that time. But yes, so I want to say that you're not wrong. You're pretty right about the utilitarian factor in this whole situation. Yeah. In fact, so much so that
As a calendar, that is one, I think, a very strong example of how we've consumed. But in my opinion, I think a lot of us, my parents never saw it as art. They saw it as gods, they saw it as a calendar, they saw it as worshipping. So I think that didn't build up on that behavior for them.
no, so your factor on the utilitarian aspect of art collection and this, you're right. See, we grew up with Khajuraho, we grew up with Humayun's tomb, we grew up with all these amazing temples and the Taj Mahal. Yes, everything, everything. All the Indian temples and and Banaras and Ajanta. So this is all what we just grow up with it. It's and I must say that we have uh, also used it. Like we've gone there on holidays, we've gone there to see it. And I think that still is, you go there to see these things, to imbibe. You may go as a pilgrim also, but you also, so this whole thing of utilizing it, utilitarian, you said such a beautiful word, this word utilitarian. Art is part of our lives, which is why, that I feel it is so much a part of it. Is we eat it, drink it, we see it every day, that we don't look at it as an investment. Yes, which is the thing which I find that the Western training brings for us, to make us realize that, hey, this also needs to be valued. This also needs to be indexed. This also needs to be treated as that, nahi to wo ghar ki murgi. It is like it's all around you. It's all the time there. It's in our textiles, it's in our ikkat, it's in our embroidery,
Yeah, absolutely. India is one of the richest country when it's come to art and culture and crafts. Like,
way of our life. It's utilitarian, but but it has to have that value. Yeah. So that value, so when you shed the light on it, the value arises. You see it for what it is. And that is happening now, I think, globally for India and even in terms.
no, I think that's an interesting viewpoint. I like that. Acha, tell me something. How has this evolution been? What do you think? You've been working with artists, and not only artists. I think what's unique about it is you can see a very 360 view of an artist's journey. And I'm not saying names. You've worked with, you know, biggest of the names, but being able to see them from a very aerial view and a bird's eye view of how they started to, their arrival, whatever that means in so many. What do you think? How would you describe, for anyone who's listening, let's say, is an artist, and we all have big dreams, what do you think is, let's say, consistency, how we talk about red flags and green flags, and how artists make it, and what that journey looks like for someone, who can reach that path?
In music, uh, you do riyaz every day. And if you don't do riyaz, you don't reach anywhere. You may be like a prodigy, but you have to do your riyaz. And you may not be a prodigy, and you still have to do your riyaz. And if you do your riyaz, your training and your everyday sadhana of whatever you're practicing will become,
I was just about to say that.
so that will lead you to wherever you want to go. You can be not coming from an art background, and yet if you are engaging in that activity or putting your mind, body, and soul into, it's very strict. I know,
No, I love this word of sadhana.
yeah, I know many artists.
I am a big believer of yoga.
So if you don't do something every day, and it's not just doing, you become, it's a way of being into it. I met Raza. I spent many day with him, and he would start sometimes at 4 a.m. in the morning, wake up in the middle of the night, maybe if he can't sleep, he'll just get up, go up to his easel and start working. And mind you, the working was not just a working. His working always had a prayer before it. He would start his day with a prayer by Rilke, the famous poet Rilke, and which was basically about connecting to the soul. He would say that prayer and begin his work. So so both these things, if you revere your work and you are doing it with that mind, body, soul connection, you're bound to make it.
It's a very spiritual journey as artist, I feel. Art making, it's, like you said, sadhana. I really believe in the psychology of, how we say tap. Um, you know, it will take a lot of perseverance, persistence, and a lot of pain, in the sense of, I'm not saying pain in the sense of driving art, which is a very no, common notion, but also tap, where, you really build yourself through the hardships and you build yourself. And I think it is like mm, it is like, you know, how you it's like finding diamonds, how the process of making a diamond is, how from the rough to the final outcome it arrives. I think it's a very spiritual, and the more from the inside you become one from who you what you feel on the outside, I think more stronger your conviction gets. How do you see the social media world now as a gallerist? um the communication has changed. Do you find artists online? Do you look at artists online? Do you watch on Instagram? How has your patterns evolved?
So my Instagram I hardly use. My It's the gallery Instagram, and my team keeps telling me and reminding me I should be putting myself there, but somehow I have not got convinced about it.
Found the time yet?
No, 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 no. I'm not convinced about putting myself there because I feel, look, it's a great place. It's a great marketplace for me. It's a great marketplace for people to see. But it's the art I'm selling. It's my artists. It's not, I am just the via media or the presenter of it. It's really my artists. And we make sure that our artists are given the limelight so that we are very clear as a gallery that it's our artists who must be seen, and they are.
Putting artists in front of the art.
Yeah, yeah. So that we do. It's their exhibitions, their artwork, and so my role in that is, uh, uh, I work for them, for their visibility. So I do that well.
Having young, now you started 20 years back, now I'm sure you have younger colleagues and teammates, and which have, you know, specifically Gen Z, they have such vibrant ideas, and of course millennials, but also I'm assuming you have young team, because you know, in the digital world there are a lot of young people working. Do you see yourself learning and also conflicting with a lot of the views, or how is that dynamic with you?
No, I learn because I don't know anything about this world.
Okay. What's most surprising for you? Have you any incident, any story to tell that you felt like I didn't know this could happen, or you know, anything?
No, I think I'm also I my team works. I believe any organization as good as its team. So and my team is really good. So they really, I mean,
Okay.
whether my co-director Abhijit, who I discuss things with, whether about the market or which artists we have to show, to my curator who gives her inputs about what she feels is going on in kind of the digital space as well as the artistic space. Yeah, my administrators, talk about how we're going to manage things. So like it's so we are kind of it's all these ideas and my social media person who's heading the team there. So all these people are, we have meetings very regularly and we listen to each other and then we take a call on so it's never a surprise for me, to be honest. Like I think I'm just growing with it. Yeah, I'm interested because I'm like, wow, okay, this is new. This is a new way to work. Let's do it. So I'm always willing to experiment and try because that is our constant change. How do you how do you cope with that?
Okay. One last question. Okay, this is not art only, but like I said, my I've been there's my every part of my body and soul is about womanhood. Not only me as an artist, but also what I do at Arts to Hearts Project. It is hyper focused. I don't think there's any other way I know, any other lens I know. And always ask this. And I truly feel women, in specifically in today's time, I feel like women make great leaders. The way we can multitask, the way we can compartmentalize, and how right and left brain, like there's so many different aspects. So what has been do you think your journey being a woman in the business and in the art world has positively impacted your role and your journey so far? And if you think has you've ever faced where you felt like, you know, discriminated, or in any of those words, good and bad both, if you have anything to share.
Okay, so I just want to say that I appreciate women, and I think you're right. They can multitask, but I would not. want to separate myself like that. In fact, if I look at my trajectory of artists, we have I have two important women artists who work with me, Jayashree Chakravarti and Meera Mukherjee before that. Meera, of course, passed away in 98. Jayashree is a contemporary woman artist working in the field of ecology, and she's a fantastic painter. And she creates these installations. Both these artists, interestingly, don't want to compartmentalize themselves as women. No. They say, yeah, we are women, fine, but why should that separate me from, it doesn't matter. What matters is what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. And let me tell you, for both of them, it was, I'm sure, very difficult to be in a place where there were already men artists to create their space, especially for Meera as a sculptor. There were only men sculptors, and she got into that area. So for me, I feel it's not about whether you're a woman or you're a man you're uh, or you're somewhere in the middle. It's not that. It's about your connection that you make within yourself. If you find that sweet spot inside, whether you're a man or a woman, you'll succeed. You'll do whatever that you are here to do. But the art world is kind to women, I can tell you that. I mean, if that's what you want to know. Yeah. Yeah.
But tell me something. How? That's a good news. No, I don't. I think I'm not specifically saying in this terms of gender bias. I asked this question because, and maybe this could be very personal to me because, um, I grew up in a way that I felt, uh, passive patriarchy in a country where we grow up. Then I lost my mom. So a lot of my own theme and my experience comes as a woman. And I'm only trying to understand. I feel like, you know, the career path also, if we say, is not the same as it is for men in the sense of, you know a lot of calls and decisions we have to take, a lot of, I have a team of a lot of mothers. One of my designer just had a baby. She worked all throughout her pregnancy, and then she took a break, and we kept throughout with her, and now my another teammate is pregnant, and we keep having these conversations, like, and we were having this conversation the other day, and I told her, you don't have to you don't have to choose if you want to be a mother or you want to be working. We just have to find a way that you're able to make both work, if you're ambitious, if you want to have all of those. And I think a lot of those choices men don't have to have that discussion, don't have to do. So I feel like we have to do that extra work, or push ourselves, or have an ecosystem that can help us thrive that way. So I'm just asking that, since a lot of our experiences are different, those experiences, and that can become a way for you to elevate yourself, or sometimes it becomes a bottleneck for people to move forward. I
Mm. I think you answered it yourself, right? You pretty much explained uh, all of it. So it's good. Yeah, I think women are beautiful and they can they can create beauty. The very fact that they can bear children is itself a miracle that they do. They nurture, and yes, they have many, many qualities. Having said that, men also do have many qualities yeah, which support the woman, so like I said, your team, and the team includes not only within your organization, it's the team that makes up the whole ecosystem of art. Yeah, and the whole ecosystem of learning art or to experience art. I mean, it's when the ecosystem is well connected, then I feel the gender does not play a role.
not matter for sure. Yeah, we have to. We hope to reach that there's no question ever like that. But sadly, it's still. it's still something that impacts a lot of people. But thank you so much. Thank you so much. One last question. Where can people who have want to learn more about the Akar Prakar Gallery, about you, like you said, you're not still Instagram convinced, but gallery, and want to learn more about the work that you do, if you have any upcoming projects?
Okay. Yeah, so you can go onto our website, www.akarprakar.com. You can follow us on Instagram and on Facebook, and you can follow all the programs that we do, all the artists that we show. We have a lot of international programs too, like so our focus is to showcase our artists in international museums, which is happening every year. We have some exhibition or the other, either in France or in USA or somewhere in the world, which we are constantly working towards. Right now, we have an exhibition of Manish Pushkale at the Musée des Arts Asiatiques in Nice, which is a fabulous exhibition. Have a look at that. The rest you can just follow us. We have programs constantly between the two galleries. Yeah.
Perfect. I will make sure that we take all the links and images from you to link it in the show notes, and everybody can, find all the links at one place. I really appreciate your time, Rina, and honesty, and a very candid and real conversation. I really like how articulative you've also been, and it's been a very good discussion, honestly. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure meeting you too, Charuka, and all the best for your projects. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Same here. Thank you.
Bye.
Same here. Same here. Thank you.